Your cat is sitting perfectly still right now, paws tucked in, eyes half closed, and you are reading that as calm. It might be the opposite of calm. That exact shape, the one that looks the most like a cat doing absolutely nothing wrong, is sometimes the one that should worry you the most. Most owners never learn the difference between a cat who is comfortable and a cat who is quietly protecting a sore spot, because both of them can look almost identical from across the room. That confusion is exactly where this starts. Before any list of symptoms, before anything dramatic, just two sits, side by side, and the one thing that tells them apart. Grab a notebook if you want, because in a minute, you are going to want to picture your own cat and check which one they usually do. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Some of you are probably glancing at your cat on the couch right now. Before we get further, here is something worth saying out loud. If you have ever looked at a hunched, quiet cat and thought they were just being lazy or moody, that is completely normal. Nobody sits you down and teaches you the difference between a relaxed sit and a guarding sit. Cats are built to make that hard to notice on purpose, so there is nothing to feel bad about here. The fact that you are watching this closely already puts you ahead of most cat owners who never think about posture at all. Noticing is the skill, and it can start today with the very next time your cat sits down in front of you. Here is the belief almost everyone carries without questioning it. A still, quiet cat is a content cat. Every cute photo you have ever seen reinforces that, paws tucked, eyes soft, looking peaceful. So when a cat sits quietly for hours, the instinct is to read that as good behavior, not as anything worth a second look. The truth runs the other way. Cats hide pain instinctively because in the wild, looking weak made you a target. So a cat that is actually hurting often does not look dramatic at all. It looks unusually still. What actually separates the two is tension. A comfortable loaf has a soft, loose body and slow, sleepy blinking. A guarding sit has a tight, high back, ears pinned back, and a face that looks strained instead of sleepy. If you are only watching for the loud stuff, crying out, limping, refusing food, you will miss this version completely, and it is often the one that comes first. If this is landing for you, this is exactly the kind of thing worth sticking around for, because in a minute, we are going to walk through how to actually tell the two apart on your own cat. And if a video like this has ever helped you catch something you would have otherwise missed, that is really the whole point of this channel. So subscribing and hitting like helps get this in front of more owners who are staring at a hunched cat right now wondering if it is nothing. So what is actually happening in the body? When a cat feels discomfort in the belly or has any kind of urinary trouble, the muscles around that area tighten up on their own, and the head drops lower, almost like the cat is curling around the sore spot the way a person hunches over a stomach ache. That is the guarding posture, the tight protective shape a cat holds when something hurts. The tail wraps in close for the same reason. A loose tail leaves the body exposed, and a cat that is guarding does not want to be exposed. The same way a person crosses their arms tight over their stomach without even thinking about it. The ears shift back or flatten too, not because the cat is angry, but because it is staying alert while trying to conserve energy instead of actually resting. A little like shoulders creeping up toward the ears, right before you brace for something. None of this needs a sound. No meowing, no crying, nothing dramatic. Which is exactly why posture is often the very first clue, showing up before appetite changes, before litter box habits change, before anything else gives it away. Think about it this way for a second. A person who normally fidgets, who shifts around, who cannot sit still for more than a minute, and then suddenly goes completely, unnaturally quiet, that stillness usually means something. It is the same with a cat. The fidgeting, the stretching, the constant repositioning, all of that is normal cat behavior. A cat that stops doing any of it and holds one tight shape for a long time is telling you something in the only language it has. But here is where it gets tricky, because not every tense sit means pain. Sometimes a cat sits rigid and locked in because it is protecting a favorite spot, or watching a dog, or feeling territorial about you. That is resource guarding, a tense sit aimed at a person or an object, and the giveaway is the eyes. They track whatever the cat feels protective over, instead of staring inward. Pain guarding looks turned inside, resource guarding looks turned outward. Keep that distinction in mind because it changes what your cat actually needs, calming the room down versus getting checked out. So picture the two side by side. The relaxed loaf is completely normal, paws tucked neatly under the body, eyes soft and slow to blink, tail loose or gently curled, ears forward or relaxed. Nothing to worry about there, on its own. The guarding hunch looks different in a way you can learn to spot, back arched higher than usual, head held low, tail wrapped tight against the body, and the cat holding that exact position for an unusually long stretch without shifting. One hunch after a big stretch is nothing. The same hunch repeating through the day is worth paying attention to. A tense sit aimed at a person, a doorway, or another pet, with a fixed stare and a stiff body, usually points toward resource guarding or fear rather than physical pain. And in those cases, calming the environment down tends to help more than anything else, giving that cat a little more space, a little more distance from whatever it is fixed on. Here is a mistake that trips up a lot of owners, and I will admit it is an easy one to make. When a cat starts guarding, a lot of people respond by picking the cat up, moving it, trying to comfort it with more handling. For a cat, protecting a sore belly, that can actually make things worse, since more handling means more pressure on the exact spot that already hurts. Watching from a short distance first, before reaching in, tells you a lot more than scooping the cat up right away ever will. Then there is one sign that deserves its own moment, because it is different from posture reading entirely. A cat that goes to the litter box repeatedly, straining, with little or no urine actually coming out, is showing something urgent. We will come back to exactly why that matters in a few minutes, because it might be the single most important thing in this whole video. And there is the face. Squinted eyes, flattened ears, a slightly furrowed brow around the eyes. These often show up right alongside the guarding hunch, and they are easy to miss if you are only looking at body shape and never checking the face. Age changes the baseline here too, so it helps to know what you are actually comparing against. A kitten is naturally wiggly, rarely still for long, so a kitten who suddenly sits frozen and hunched stands out fast. It looks wrong almost immediately because it is so out of character. An adult cat in its prime years usually has a fairly steady, predictable sit, which makes a sudden shift easier to catch if you already have a baseline from watching them regularly. A senior cat is the trickiest of the three, because more stillness and more resting is somewhat expected with age, which is exactly why the tension test matters most for older cats. Since a loose, soft stillness is just aging, and a tight, guarded stillness is not. Picture a cat named Willow, an older cat who used to sit tall on the windowsill every single afternoon, watching the street. Her owner noticed, slowly, that she had started sitting lower, tucked tighter, tail wrapped, and staying that way for longer stretches than usual. It got written off as Willow just getting older, a little lazier, nothing urgent. A closer look told a different story, more frequent trips to the litter box, and some straining that had been easy to miss because it happened quietly, in another room. A vet visit found an early bladder issue, the kind that is very manageable once it is actually caught. Within a couple of weeks of treatment, Willow was back on her windowsill, tail loose, eyes soft, in that same old relaxed loaf. The posture had been the first, and honestly the only, clue the whole time. Nobody in that house would have called themselves careless. They just did not know what to look for yet, which, if you have made it this far, you now do. Left alone, this pattern does not usually stay small. What starts as occasional stiffness after a long nap can slowly turn into a cat that consistently avoids jumping, stays hidden more of the day, and seems, for lack of a better word, smaller than usual. If the underlying cause is urinary, ignored straining can progress toward a partial or full blockage, and that is not a slow problem anymore. That becomes an emergency. Chronic low-grade discomfort that goes unaddressed can also reshape a cat's whole personality over a matter of weeks, less play, more hiding, snapping at handling that used to be perfectly fine, And most owners read that as the cat's mood changing, not the body underneath it. It rarely announces itself all at once. It is a windowsill your cat used to claim every afternoon that slowly sits empty. It is a favorite toy that stops getting batted around the living room. It is a cat that used to greet you at the door and now waits on the couch instead, still affectionate, just quieter about it. None of those moments look like an emergency on their own. Strung together over a few weeks, they usually are the story, told slowly instead of all at once. Here is the part that gets stitched together with everything you can actually do at home, starting today. First, a 2-minute habit: watch your cat sit for a full minute twice a day and just notice. Is the body loose or tight? Is the tail loose or wrapped? Are the ears forward or pinned? It costs nothing, and it builds you a baseline for your specific cat, because every cat's normal looks a little different. Add a sleeping breath count while your cat is fully at rest. Count breaths for 15 seconds and multiply by 4. A healthy adult cat generally sits well under 40 breaths a minute while sound asleep, and a count that stays higher than that, paired with a hunched sight, is worth mentioning to a veterinarian. Never use to diagnose anything on your own. If your cat seems to be guarding a sore area or avoiding jumps they used to make without thinking, offer a low, easy bed near their favorite spots, and keep the litter box on the same level your cat already lives on, because stairs alone can discourage a sore cat from going at all, which only makes things worse. This matters more the older your cat gets. A young, healthy cat can usually handle a litter box up a short flight of stairs without a second thought. A senior cat or a kitten still building coordination cannot always say no to that climb even when it hurts, so they just stop going as often instead, which quietly makes everything worse. Warm, easily digestible wet food can help a cat who is eating less than usual, offered in small portions rather than one big meal, and warming it slightly, just to close to body temperature, tends to make it more appealing to a cat who is not feeling their best. Fish oil with omega-3 is commonly used to support joint comfort in cats dealing with ongoing stiffness, following the label dosing for your cat's weight, and it should be introduced slowly, since too much too fast can upset the stomach and loosen the stool, which nobody wants to deal with either. For an older senior cat carrying some extra stiffness, this tends to be used daily and long-term. For a younger adult cat with an occasional rough day, using it for a short stretch while you watch how they respond is usually enough, and kittens generally do not need it at all unless a vet has specifically suggested it. Gentle, brief handling around the belly, only if your cat actually tolerates it, and never forced, can help you notice a firm spot or a flinch, and that is information worth bringing straight to a vet rather than something to treat on your own at home. If you try the 2-minute observation habit for a few days and the guarding sit is not easing up, or if it seems to be getting more frequent instead of less, that is your signal to stop watching and start calling. A day or two of gentle improvement is one thing. No improvement at all, in either direction, is a different situation entirely, and it deserves a professional set of eyes. Now, the part that matters most. If the guarding site shows up alongside repeated litter box trips, producing little or no urine, straining, or a belly that feels firm and painful, this is an emergency. A blocked urinary tract can turn life-threatening within roughly a day or two, and it needs a same-day vet visit rather than a home remedy or a wait-and-see approach. This tends to hit male cats especially hard. Simply because of anatomy, their urinary tract is narrower, so a blockage forms more easily than it does in females, though females are not immune and still deserve the same urgency if the signs show up. Never give a cat human pain medication. Acetaminophen or ibuprofen are highly toxic to cats, even in tiny amounts, and can be fatal. That same caution goes for dog-labeled flea products. Permethrin, common in dog formulas, is dangerous for cats. Keep onion, garlic, chocolate, grapes, raisins, and xylitol away from any comfort treat you are tempted to offer, all of them toxic regardless of the amount. And essential oil diffusers should not run anywhere near a resting cat. Cats cannot metabolize many essential oils, and they can be poisoned through the air alone, not just by touching or eating something. If a guarding sight lasts more than a day, or your cat stops eating or hides constantly, home comfort is not enough anymore, and it is time to call the vet. Every single one of those warnings exists for the same reason. Cats process things very differently from dogs, and sometimes very differently from us. A dose that would barely register for a person, or even for a dog twice a cat's size, can be more than a small cat's body can handle. That is not meant to scare you away from ever helping at home. Most of what is in this video is safe, gentle, and genuinely useful. It just means the handful of things on that toxic list stay firmly off the table. No exceptions. No just this once. One more thing, because it trips people up. If you are adjusting more than one thing at once, a new bed, a diet change, a supplement, all together, it becomes almost impossible to tell what actually helped or what upset your cat's stomach instead. Add one change, give it a few days, then layer in the next. Slow and steady beats a pile of changes your cat did not ask for. None of this lives in isolation either. A cat that is quietly guarding its belly or its joints usually starts eating a little less. And less eating, stretched out over weeks, shows up in the coat too. A little duller, a little less soft than it used to be. A cat avoiding jumps moves less across the whole day, and less movement adds weight over time, and extra weight puts more strain right back on the same joints and the same urinary system that started this whole thing. It becomes a loop, quietly feeding itself, and it usually starts from exactly the sign we opened with. One sit, easy to miss, easy to explain away. To put a number on part of this, a healthy adult cat breathing well under 40 times a minute while fully asleep is the range worth remembering. And a urinary blockage that goes untreated can turn fatal within roughly a day or two, which is really the whole reason this posture matters as much as it does. Small numbers, but they carry real weight. So here is where that leaves you. A relaxed loaf and a guarding hunch can look almost the same from across the room until you know what tension actually looks like on a cat's body. Reading that difference early is not about becoming a vet yourself. It is about noticing sooner and getting the right help sooner before a quiet problem turns into a loud one. None of this asks for anything expensive either. A lot of pet products are sold as the answer to catching hidden pain early. Elaborate gadgets, complicated supplement stacks, the promise that the right purchase will finally tell you what your cat is feeling. Some of it has its place, sure. But the single most reliable tool in all of this still costs nothing. It is 2 minutes twice a day, actually looking at how your cat is sitting. That skill does not come in a box, and honestly, it never really needed to. Tell me in the comments, one word, loaf or hunch, whichever one your own cat does most right now. It is a small thing to type, but it is a good excuse to actually go look. And if this changed how you are going to watch your cat tonight, hitting subscribe and like genuinely helps this reach more owners staring at a hunched cat, wondering if it is nothing, the same way you might have been an hour ago. Wherever your cat is sitting right now, go take one more look. And maybe before you close this, go give them a slow scratch right behind the ears, the kind they lean into without even meaning to.